Liberty cities spring up in Texas. That's the headline from the Panama Post just a few days ago. So what are Liberty cities? Funny you should ask that. I've got some people joining us to explain it all. Jess Fields of the Texas Public Policy Foundation and Mayor of Ormy, Texas, Art Martinez de Vara. Gentlemen, welcome to the program so much. I was really intrigued about this idea of having a smaller municipality, especially in reading about Art and reading about how this all came to be. You're a volunteer firefighter, and I was reading the story where you were basically sent to wait on a stretch of road that whenever there was rain, you would always, this portion of the road would always be flooded, drivers would get stuck, and you actually had the thought, why isn't anyone taking care of this part of the road? I mean, we're too far away from San Antonio. The county doesn't have a lot of money. Give us the backstory on how you approached, because you created a Liberty City.
That's right, Dana. You know, the natural question happened, well, why isn't anybody doing this? And when everybody threw their hands up, the next logical thing was, why don't we do it ourselves? So we decided to go start our own city. None of us, had any political background or experience, and frankly, we just kind of set up a city the way we thought things should be run. And I think we inspired others, and other folks started mimicking us, and now there's a handful of them throughout Texas.
Yeah, and Jess, I've seen this problem kind of pop up a lot whenever you have areas where, they're not huge, you don't have a huge population, but they're really far outside of, big metropolitan areas. Maybe they're in counties where, they don't have a lot of revenue coming in, but yet these people still need services, and they still need certain things that they would have if they were basically a little bit closer to bigger cities. Is this because this seems to be like a trend? A lot of people, and not just Art here as well, are coming to the conclusion that we need certain things done, we need to set up our own cities, and of course they're being run way better than a lot of these big metro areas are being operated.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and also Art's city, as well as Sandy Oaks, I think the other one you showed on the map, we're both in the potential range of annexation of San Antonio, a much higher tax, higher regulation city. The planners, the central planners, have kind of taken over these big cities, and they want to annex all these areas around the city. So these folks like in Sandy Oaks and Ormy that say, we want to break off and have our own limited government policies, provide our own services, and have low taxes, and in Ormy's case, no taxes. We think that's a great thing. And our research shows that, this would be something fantastic for a lot of Texans to do.
Yeah, and especially that annexation. I know that's something I had been, some friends of mine who are in Glendale, Colorado. They kind of operated almost sort of the same thing, and they've been going back and forth with the city of Denver on annexation. And I love that you had also said, too, and Art, you were saying, well, none of us had political backgrounds, because we always hear, and that's kind of the pushback, well, you folks can't seriously consider doing something like this. There's so much that goes into it. You really need to have, a political professional handle this for you, which no, you don't. You don't. That's how this all came to be. People realizing they needed a community, and they banded together in order to facilitate something like this. What has been the response, Art, in Ormy? How are the residents there? How are they enjoying this new municipality?
Well, I think most people are very pleased. We would have been annexed by San Antonio if we hadn't incorporated. We set about a policy early on of trying to reduce property taxes, being smart about things. We set up a regulatory environment where we had zero cost permitting or pass-through permitting to encourage businesses to open in our community. And as we increased our sales tax base, our consumer consumption taxes, we progressively reduced our property tax. So it took 6 years, but we eventually eliminated property taxes, which in Texas are typically very high and the main source of government revenue. San Antonio's got a 56-cent tax. Our other closest cities is somewhere around 76 cents. And so, we've been able to provide the services that we wanted without a lot of the regulation. Annexation by San Antonio comes with about $11,000 per capita of municipal debt.
Oh,
so for a house of four, that's $40,000 of debt that was spent in an area outside of our community, and it was approved by voters our voters didn't approve it. And so annexation comes with some very serious consequences of debt, and you're on the hook to repay that. And so I think a lot of people are looking at forming their own cities and operating in a different way as a better solution than allowing themselves to be annexed.
Right, and I like how it's stated as well that the city purposefully seeks to protect constitutional rights of its citizens and how it governs. You have a Citizen Bill of Rights guaranteeing that citizens will not face regulations on, for example, their freedom of speech or assembly. That's great. I like that, Art. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, we're the only city in the county that doesn't have a nighttime curfew for our kids. We did have a city councilman recommend that because the rest of the county did, and we brought in all the high schoolers we could find, and I have a history background, so I reminded them that the freedom of travel, how the slave bill, the Jim Crow, all these things were restrictions, and to not let any politician take away your rights. And the proposition failed. We're the only town that allows fireworks, the other things. Everything's fine. People are very responsible.
I love Van Ormy just because of what you just said right there. We're the only town, well, because of all the other stuff too, but you just said, well, we're the only one that allows fireworks. God bless you. God bless you. You're talking right to my heart there. Jess, I want to turn it to you because in Texas, it seems that this state, the state of Texas, seems to be where I hear more about Liberty Cities than anything else. I think it's a movement here within the state. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, everybody knows that Texas is a state that's doing very well. I mean, Texas has created more jobs than any other state since the recession, and we all know that. But a lot of people don't realize just how highly regulated and how big government our big cities have become. I mean, the big cities in Texas are adopting the policies of California and New York cities and getting away with it. So when you have people who live right outside of the city in Texas, they can be forcefully annexed. If they don't want to live in those kinds of an environment with higher taxes, people telling them what size soda they can buy or whatever, whether they can buy fireworks. I mean, if they want to have their rights protected, that really is why Liberty Cities is popular. Texans are an independent people who value their rights, and they value the Constitution, and they don't want any big city planner to tell them that they shouldn't have those rights.
Exactly, and a lot of the regulations, like the ones that Art was talking about, just, the common regulations that you see in almost every single city that are basically just revenue enhancement, you don't need those, and yet you're doing so well, and yet the city's doing so wonderfully, so it must be magic, Art.
Well, there's two sides to a coin. I mean, if you're gonna try to have a low-tax city, you also have to make sure you don't spend it all or mortgage the future by getting into a lot of debt. So we've avoided debt. We would try to adopt a pay-as-you-go policy. So all of our police vehicles, we pay cash. And when you compare us to other cities, the thing that really stands out is the maintenance on their outstanding debt obligations usually consumes roughly 50% or more of the property tax. And so if you can avoid that by being smart and planning, we ran a virtual city hall for many years. We're a small enough town that if you need a permit or an application, we'll just bring it to your house. There was no need to have that expense. And right now we operate out of a really efficient mobile home, actually, because we want to focus the tax dollars are where they're needed. Public safety, fixing the roads, animal control, the things that cities should be doing, and not waste our money and time on things that we don't need to be doing or would just be like to have.
Jess, it sounds so odd to hear someone talk about how government should run. It sounds so crazy. I'm gonna replay this interview and watch it again just because you never hear city leaders talk anything like this. Art Martinez de Vara and Jess Fields at Jess Lane Fields on Twitter, at Martinez de Vara on Twitter. Thank you, gentlemen, both so much and sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.